Welcome to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Our mission is to bring you discussions on a wide array of topics in the coaching world to grow players on and off the court. You can connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and also reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Now, here's your host, Coach Mike Hernandez.
All right, hello again, and welcome to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on whatever platform you're listening on. Before we get any further, though, I do want to say that there is a video component to this, and there's a video element to this. So I would highly recommend that you watch this on YouTube so that you can kind of see some of the X's and O's stuff that we're talking about, so that you visually can kind of understand what it is that we are having a discussion on. So today I'm happy to be joined by Coach James Bagwell, and I'm very excited, as I just mentioned, to kind of get into some X's and O's. Coach, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me, Coach.
Absolutely. Like I said, really excited to kind of dive into some of the nuts and bolts of the things that are happening on the court. So before we get into that, though, I do want to take some time for you to kind of explain to our listeners and our viewers your coaching journey, where it is you've been, where it is you're at right now, and where the game of basketball has taken you. So, Coach, go ahead and explain kind of your journey to us.
Okay, my journey started when I was playing the tail end of my college career, which I was able, fortunate enough to play 2 years of junior college basketball, and then I played at NCAA Division II University of Mary. During that time, I was able to help out as a volunteer assistant coach my senior year of my eligibility in college, and I was able to help at United Tribes. So I did that, and during that time as well, I was approached to coach some elementary boys and girls. So I did that, just get into it. I think for me, my passion and, me to want to take this to the next level as far as trying to coach at a higher level was when I, after the elementary job, I received a traveling team job. And it was, I got asked to coach some young men traveling team. It was 13 and under. And, before I started with them, they struggled a little bit. At our first tournament, I think we struggled. And then after a couple of weeks of practice, there was a lot of talent in there. And those guys went on to have great high school prep careers, actually. But we was able to run off three tournament championships. So after that, I was like, I'm ready. So I finished up my degree at the University of Mary in 2014. And then my alma mater, United Tribes, they had 2 jobs open. This junior college basketball, National Junior College Athletic Association. They had the head men's and women's job open. So, I thought, what the heck, I'll give it a shot, and I did. And I actually, so at the age of 25, I was my first, real head coaching job in college. Yeah, so I learned a lot, but I just felt, after that year, I felt that, I thought I would do better in high school right away because, I think I just felt I thought that would be better for me. And so I went to Standing Rock High School located on Standing Rock Indian Reservation in Fort Yates, North Dakota for 1 year. And I coached head girl. I was a head girls coach there, and I, had a good year there. And then after that year, I heard about an athletic director job, which was my dream job, be an athletic director. And then on top of that, dean of students, and then coach head girls basketball coach here at Crazy Horse High School, which I've been here, and this is my 5th year. So that's kind of my journey, and it brings me here.
Yeah, a lot of twists and turns, a lot of different opportunities you've had along the way, but with that comes, a tremendous amount of new experiences and things that you kind of picked up that I'm sure you use at your current position right now. And one of the things that I did want to touch base with you on is the work that you do have with the Native American population. Where I'm at in Arizona, we have a lot of reservations, and basketball is actually really important in our Native American communities, and it seems to me that that's kind of prevalent in other Native American communities as well, kind of throughout the country. So with that, what are some of the challenges, but also what are some of the opportunities that come with working with reservation communities and with Native American population, and how important have you seen is the game in those areas in your experience?
Well, first off, most of my, if you kind of my introduction on my coaching journey, a lot of my coaching opportunities have came. Actually, my whole coaching career has came, through the opportunities to work with the Native American Indian kids, and so the culture is beautiful, and the people are unique. Very strong, resilient people. Understanding the history of how Native American people came to the reservation and things like that. That's challenging in its own. You talk about healthcare and things like that. A lot of resources that they might not have, but man, do they make the best of it. It's tight knit. I always, blessed to be in tight knit communities, really embraced. And an opportunity, they love the game of basketball. The game of basketball is great. I think every gym we're at is packed. No matter what your win-loss record, it's packed. One of the greatest opportunities and experience I've gotten to have and continue to have here at Crazy Horse School is that one of the biggest tournaments, man, December, Lakota National Invitational LNI. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but man, it's at the Civic Center in Rapid City. And man, like we play in great gyms, and man, it's like it's schools from reservation all over, like Winnebago came down, and all the tribal schools around South Dakota. That's one of the best experiences. Man, our kids get to go and showcase their talent, and they have cultural components in there, hand games and thing, archery and powwows and things like that. So, that's great. But I've been very fortunate to have great interactions and great support from the Native American, communities, and I really appreciate that in my journey.
And I think that what you mentioned is something that a lot of people don't realize is that basketball is big time in those communities. Here in Arizona, there's 7,000 seat arenas in some of those areas, so they take it seriously. They don't mess around, and I'm glad that you shared that, because I think a lot of coaches may not really know about those opportunities, or may not realize like how much those communities love basketball. And, if you're passionate about coaching and opportunities like that present itself, like, man, like that those are good gigs to have, as you can attest to, considering that you're still doing it, you still love working with them. So that's great. That's great to hear. So as I said on the onset, that our topic today is about implementing set plays and quick hitters and getting into those X's and O's. And I know you got your whiteboard ready, so I know you're probably itching ready to go with that. So let's go ahead and get started a little bit with a little bit of philosophy stuff, and then kind of right into those X's and O's in your implementation of them. So you mentioned to me off air that you like to run a 5-out offense in general, and then you also have 5 sets that you run against man, and then you also have 5 sets that you run against zone. So my question, Coach, is do each of these 5 sets, do they serve a different purpose? And kind of what was the thought process behind these different sets that you have for these different situations?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yes. When I first started my coaching, like probably most coaches, you kind of experiment and try to find, and so I had to really scale it down, think about, the type of kids that I had as a coach. How did I want things to look? And, what did I believe in? And I believe in kind of positionless basketball. I believe in a lot of skill, because if you pay attention to the game nowadays, it's going that way. It's skills. It's about skills. You got 7-footers. You got guys that can handle the ball, shoot it. Girls too. Excuse me. It's a lot of that. So what I do is I work on the conventional offensive concepts. Cutting. Reading screens, triple threat. How do you make those reads? And so we're able to go. My guys are prepared to go out and be prepared to be successful in any situation. And so running the 5-out, predominantly running the 5-out, what usually happens, and what I have came to notice as a coach, looking at film and through my experiences, that 5-out is a motion, so it's not, you have 5 spots to fill, but you kind of can you keep your spacing, right? You keep your spacing, and you kind of can do whatever you want to do in it, as long as you keep the spacing and the continuity, the integrity of the offense. And when we run a 5-out so much, and this would brought me to sets and things like that. Sometimes depending on what type of defense they play, if they switch and everything, if they doing this, they doing that, they can stay in front of guys. They got good help side principles, a lot of different factors. At times, defenses, especially, basketball players, kids, they have tendencies. So you run the same thing, you run the same thing. Yes, it's a lot of freedom in it, but the defense get used to defending those things, right? So what I do is, what I thought of is like, okay, when things get stagnant, okay, we may be getting some shots, but they're not going, right? We need a scorer. We need to get the ball here or get the ball in this person's hands and get this type of action. It's different variations. You get what I'm saying? So all game, a team has to defend the 5-out, and somebody might pass and cook because you're going to be patient. Somebody might attack it, stop, boom, and they defending that same action. So now let's go and let's put them in this is 4 high or something like that, and then let's run this out. And from my experience, all my quick hitters work like 95%. We get whatever we want. You know what I mean? Whether it's a good look, whether we score it, it works because of the tendencies, like I say, and because I think they're very good actions anyway.
Well, I like too that you mentioned about like the 5-out in general. There's a lot of freedom involved in it, and there's a lot of decision making that the players can make. But at the same time, if you're not careful, some of those players might make those same decisions over and over again. And next thing you know, you're running a stagnant offense because your players are making the same movement. Even though you're giving them choice, they're still kind of doing the same action over and over again. So sometimes having that set is forcing that kid to make an action that they might not normally make on their own. So absolutely, that makes sense to me. So let's sort of get right into it then. So can you run through just a couple examples of some sets that you think coaches should always have at your disposal, or some common situations you find that defenses are putting you in that you always want to make sure that you have a set for? So we can just
I don't know. Could you see that? Could you see that, Coach?
If you want to move it up just a little bit, tilt it up. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, now we're in business. Yep.
Okay. So yes. And I'll get some clips out. I'll send some clips to you. But the first one I'll go over is elbow. I call this elbow because it's an elbow touch. Okay. And hold on,
Coach, go ahead and tilt up your camera just a little bit more so we can make sure we get all the free line. There we go. All right.
Okay. Is that good?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. And so this play is versus man-to-man. I call this play elbow. And I usually this is one of my favorite sets, and it works a lot. Okay, so what we do is we space the floor.
Hello? I'm here. Okay. I'm just making sure the whole screen captures you.
I got you. What we do is I like to space the floor here. So I had this play. I had a player who was a lefty. She was a young lady, and she was so explosive and good getting to that left hand. And so we're running, like I said, we're running 5-out, and guys are defending. They got help side. Then I want to go space, and I want some different action. So what we do, I put the floor here, but I go positions. You can be your guard, your best big, or whatever. You can even be your point guard. You want a good driver that can finish the basketball. Okay, we put that guy here. This is the elbow, but it's the interaction is gonna come elbow once it gets started, and we'll see that. And you put your best shooter, depending on what side you run this to. So even if you switch this guy running to this side, you put your best shooter. Put your best shooter here, okay? And then we'll go over wide in a second. All right, so we're gonna put defense here. And what happens is, the point guard just go here. As she's making this action, dribbling towards this 4 guy is going to come, okay, it's going to come here, and then it's going to be a jump stop, dribble handoff here, okay? And what we're trying to do is look to turn the corner. Before we get there, as this is happening right here, Coach, the 5-man is getting out of there right away, okay? They're getting out of here right away over to the right side, the right hash, right block side. And what we're trying to do now, when you see all this happening, it's so much action going on here. So you got a middle pick and roll, guard to guard. Okay, and if this is a 4-man, this is advantage. And to my girl's case, that was an advantage for her. And so she's gonna attack this thing, right? She's gonna attack this thing, okay? So let's say I'll move this here, okay? This 5-man is here. This 5-man is here. And the 1-man, okay, the 1-man is here. So I'm sorry, I'll erase this right here. And so this is the 1-man. This is the 1-man now. Now, as this person is turning the corner with the ball, this 4, Okay, she got a couple things to watch. Number one is help side. You know, sometimes depending on how they play it, a guy might be here. You know, if you stick to your man-to-man principles, a guy might be here to be able to start and close that off. Okay, she's gonna try to turn the corner, so she got a couple different options here. This guy right here. So he's coming off the score, obviously. Read the defense. This point guard, after she does this dribble handoff, she's gonna dive straight to the basket. Okay, because what you see most of the time, it's a mix-up with this switch right here. If they don't switch, she can slip it. Okay, depending on how they do it. If they don't switch aggressively, she can slip it. Anyway, as that's going on. And this guy is gotten this 5 is moving all the way around or you stretch for whoever you got right to the 3-point line. Okay. So you got a shot here. I don't know if you can see that. Okay. I'll move this guy here. So you got this 5 here ready for a catch and shoot there. Okay. You got the 4-man turn to corner. By that time, you got this 1-man here, right here. And then you got this guy. And this guy's a spacer. 3-man is a spacer on that side. Okay. And if she don't have a score here, she don't have this kick here, she don't have this pass here, she can jump stop, reverse pivot off the back, and most of the time, guaranteed boom. And that's why I had it. I had the personnel that can do that. Yep. And it worked tremendously. And what usually happens is this 4-man, this whoever this guy is right here, because I drew it specifically for that, gets to the basket. You know, depending on how the team playing me, is they gonna switch it, is they gonna talk it. Like I said, we go 5 out all game. I would run this about 5 or 6 different times, periodically throughout the game, and 5. If I ran it 6 times, guaranteed 5 times, either we get a score, this guy's getting fouled, or we get these looks that we want. And everything that I run fills us back to a 5 out. Everything that I run fills us back to a 5 out. Okay. So do we got that one? Or
right. Well, good. Couple things here about that. Number one. What I really like is that the defense, they have to communicate. You're really putting a lot of pressure on the defense to talk, to communicate, and making, testing them and seeing if they have that ability to do so. Number two, when you're running this sort of action, what do you find are the looks that are either the most common or the shots that you find yourselves getting a lot of times when you're running this action? Because it looks to me like there's a lot of different opportunities and a lot of different options available here.
Yeah, the most thing we definitely get the person who's getting the ball, which is the 4 in this case, she always turn the corner, especially because the switch, like I said, to defend is you're going to switch aggressively and switch her up the floor, which this guy, most of the time can dribble and make a move, right? But she had this whole side of the floor, this is her strong hand. Okay, so we almost every time got this to a score or a foul, or we got a wide open here because after she hits it, boom, 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 even if she gets this guy one-on-one, that's a switch. This guy's switching, having to move anyway. Then this guy's gonna come over and help, and that's we got that guy. Okay, and so then what we teach them too, if she was to go and hit this guy here for a shot, if we want to play with it, then we'll just feel, right? We'll just feel it. Okay, we'll just feel it. This guy pops, so we can get a swing, boom, boom, and then this guy fills it over the spot. You get what I'm saying? So but most of the time we are going to get there. We definitely turn in this corner, okay? And we're going to get this corner guy here for a corner 3 shot. All right. The one, I don't know how, but the one, didn't get a lot of looks on that one. I don't know why, but she did it. We definitely did this guy and this top guy, and that you teach your guys with this 5 guy or whoever this is. This could be a shooter too, because I had a stretch 5 that was predominantly a shooter offensively and a set shooter. And once we get that boom, that jump stop, reverse pivot, and we can get that chest pass right there and we shot ready, man. We get a lot of good things out of that. So that was one of my favorites that, I ran for a man-to-man set.
Right, and what I like too that you mentioned is that those players, whether it's the 5 coming up or the 2 in the corner, they're shot ready. Like you catch it, like you're loaded, you're ready to go. So before we move on to the next one, real quick, a lot of concerns I hear from coaches when they kind of look at plays like this. They're like, "Whoa, okay, it makes a lot of sense to me." When I see it like this, or when I see film on it. But when you're teaching a set like this, or when you're teaching a little quick hitter like this, what do you find when you're teaching it is like the part that you either are emphasizing the most, or you find that you really need to repeat a lot because what I guess what I'm asking is, what is the most difficult part for the players to get in terms of the rhythm of running that effectively?
I think the actions are pretty simple, but get them to understand. Okay, for my kids. Like my kids used to be like, okay, so what's option one, what's option two, what's option three, what's option four? I'm coaching girls. And so, I would say, okay, obviously the turn the corner is the option one, but we're playing, right? Because like I said before, every day I spend a significant amount of time working on universal offensive concepts. So those things include get open, use your cuts, V cut, L cut, basket cut, utilizing screens, down screens, ball screens, spacing, counter moments to dribble penetration, curl up, space out, cut back door, and so on. So we doing all those things anyway. But for them, this is something different because this goes against what they're used to doing, right? So you just have to remind them and say, okay, hey, you come off and this guy helps. So basically, when you go live, when we go live, we're gonna put the defense on and say, okay, and I'm gonna have to walk them through it. I'm gonna have to walk guys through like, okay, so say you come here, boom, and say this happened. This guy jumps out, then what? This guy should be gone already. Okay, this guy stays shy. We don't want to creep up here. You know what I mean? Because in a set like this too, it's not a lot of standing, but you have to, and sometimes that may be difficult in high school because guys want to move so much. Mm-hmm. And the spacing, because you put guys deep corner. That's I learned that from NBA. My junior college coach was an NBA coach, so he would do a lot of deep corner NBA spacing. My 5 out is NBA spacing as well. But anyway, back to the point. Basically getting them familiar with the reads, and you will make this pass in this situation, or you will look here in this situation. But, as I try to teach them to be basketball players and say, hey, you should be observing the home floor anyway, right? We just playing the game. So this is a variation, this is an action. And then once we go through that action, we got to play out of that. We got to be able to adjust and adapt to that.
Well, something I'm so glad that you mentioned too was that even as you're teaching these quick hitters, you're teaching these sets, you're just implementing things that you've already continually emphasized in your practice. It's not like some brand new concepts or brand new language. It's the things you're already doing in your practice. They're just being implemented and you're just applying them to these particular situations, which I think is great. Makes a lot of sense. All right, Coach, it looks like you got a few on your list here. So
yes.
Here we go.
Okay, yeah. And then one thing else I wanted to say, Coach, is that when I'm implementing a new set, a lot of times what I do, we do a lot of skill work. That's a big chunk of our practice every single year. Well, not a big chunk, but some we hit on, and we, depending on where we're at and what skills we need to hit, we hit every single skill in some way, form, or fashion every single practice. So that's all season. Obviously, you get to your summer work. But if I'm going to implement something, so I would have that action. So I would just have, let's break up groups. Let's just have that, let's have this guy here and this guy here, and let's just run it to make sure we get that down and how we, you can slip that. So I would break down small group, and then when I bring them back together, whole group, man, it really works. So right. I'll do that as well. That makes it easier transition. So you don't have to spend too much time. You know what I mean?
Yep, putting all the pieces together. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the next thing I want to show is a zone. It's a zone, and we'll call this UConn because I got this from Gino Oriema. I was watching one of his clinics one time, and I saw something against the zone. I liked his concepts, and we call it triple because it actually is a triple stack. Okay, so what we got, and this is against the zone. So we'll say the X is our zone on our zone. We'll put up a 2-3. Right, we'll put up a 2-3. Okay, and when Gino was explaining this, what he was saying was, in his theory of breaking down the zone, and that resonated with me, is that he wanted to, he likes to get the defense basically in a position where they have to play, where they have to use kind of man up, something they're not used to doing, right? So you got a zone, depending on the zone, some people have zone man-to-man principles. However, this is a very effective set. I actually run this periodically a lot, depending on what I'm seeing from the defense. If they play in a tight zone, we need to get a shot. And I don't like to bring it out really until it's like a critical time. I didn't win a game off this kid, a game winner last year for me. I didn't been down by 1 and hit a 3 to win a game as well. To take momentum and finish the game and win. So anyway, you got a triple stack, okay? So you got your 4-man out here, okay? And we'll talk about that. We got your 4-man here, okay? and you got your 5-man right here. So that'll be on the block. That'll actually be, I'm sorry. Let me move him down. I'm sorry. Okay. So we'll go 5 guy here, right on top of the block. Okay, we got 3 guy here, and we'll go 2 guy here. Okay, boom. So what we want to do, obviously, when you go in against the zone, you want to make sure your guard engages whatever, especially against a 2-3 or whatever. You want to engage. You don't make the cross-court pass, correct? Okay, so this is what happens. It's a simple, quick hitter. We got a break, okay? We got this guy dribbling, engage this guy. You got to engage that guy. This guy pops this way, okay? Sorry. My lines are not.
It's all good.
The right idea was not the lines, okay? Obviously, you want to go free throw line extended to the wing. Boom. You want to pop that guy there, and this guy, so after you engage here, you want to hit to this guy. Okay, so let's say that's the 2, all right? Hopefully, people got that, get that. So this will be the 2. The 2 is with the basketball. This guy pops to the corner right here, right? So if you see what's happening right here, right? We just put in an overload situation. Mm-hmm. This guy got to play 1 against 2, right? This guy play 1 against 2. In the zone, usually this is a stunt, okay? This is a stunt, or in this case, he's engaged. You got to stay here until he gets back. So this guy will have to stay. This wing defender on the 2-3 will have to stay here with 2, basically a stunt until this guy can sprint over here and cover, right? Just enough time, okay? And this is what I usually get too, coach. I usually get this right here. I get that because this guy's going to either do this, they're going to come and stay like they're supposed to, or they're going to say, okay, maybe they might do this and try to stunt here, but you pass fake that. No matter what, look at what we got here. We got a deep seal because this guy got to come over. But look at the action on it. So most of the time, I'm getting this. I'm getting a swing for this 3. Like I said, the game winner I talked about and the shot that put me up for momentum game was that shot right there, wide open corner 3, and then if not, then we got a 1-on-1 deep seal right by the basket with this 5-man right there. You see what I'm saying?
Yep. So I'm curious, from the time when that is set, from the time when that triple is set to, let's say, the time it's going to get swung to the 3-man. How long does that take? Because that seems like some real quick, like right to the 2, and then the 3's got to get right out there and be ready to go. How quick does it take for both those motions to take place?
You're right, coach. It's a bang bang. So the 3 just got a split second. The 3 got a split second. This guy got a sprint. Both of them got to be a sprint. You got to be a sprint. Soon as the 3-man would see the 2, take a couple steps. I tell them give them 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. If they sprint it, then you go. Okay, because then it's a hit, and then you already sprint out with your feet set, ready, shot ready to get that thing off, right? So that's what I tell my guys. But it's a real quick. It's a bang, bang, hit, bang. Even down to the post, hit, boom. Because at this point the action is made. We don't need to wait. We're gonna read this guy. We're gonna take advantage of that guy right there and put that guy in a difficult situation.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep. Make a decision. Yep.
So we put the 4 outside this guy too, because the 4 can do a couple things. The 4 can pop, or if this happens, boom, the 4 can always sneak behind it and get that shot too. And like I said, even in our zone offense, whatever we run, that's all I love about the 5-out, because you always can get into a 5-out or space it out. And like I said, we talk about cutting and doing all those things, which is a part of our offense. So we just play. We want to get the ball here and there, but we just play out of that. You get what I'm saying?
Right. So does the 2-man in that situation, can they read what's happening if the closeout isn't strong, or can they make a decision themselves? They don't just have to swing it to the 3?
Yeah, this guy can even take it. This guy open on that. Both of these are shooters, so I recommend that personnel-wise. Both of these guys are shooters. 2 and the 3 is shooters. They're shooters, right? So this guy needs to come out ready to make a play as well. Even if you do a shot fake, pass fake, I'll put this guy as my shooter playmaker, a guy that likes to put it on the floor as well. You hope everybody likes to put it on the floor, but you go what they're comfortable doing and their tendencies. You want this guy trying to be that's why I said the 2, shoot, get to the hole traditionally, and be able to make that play. Because if we can drive it in, if he can fake that boom and this guy's not closed out, and we can drive it here, boom, we still got a 2-on-1 situation. Maybe you know what I mean? 3-on-2 because we got the 4 as well.
Right.
So we got a lot of things that can happen right there.
Right. So one quick note, and then one quick question about this in particular. I think for coaches who are looking to implement something like this, especially if that free guy in the corner, you got to practice that free guy to be able to make that move, get out to the corner, be able to set and be ready to go. Like that doesn't it doesn't really come natural for some players to go from that set position, get to the corner, and be ready to go. But if you can work on that action, that sounds like that would be super helpful. And then really quickly for the five, let's say the free dumps it right into the five. Obviously, it's kind of a bang bang situation. Is there like a quick move that you want your five to go into? Is there like a certain action, like right? Is there a post move you're looking for? Is it just sort of depend on situation?
Yeah, so either way, I would say, so, most of the time in this situation and in zone defenses, because I'm not a big, I play zone a little bit, and traditionally what they teach this five guy to do is come help this baseline side, right? So what you're gonna do, you'll probably catch, and you have a drop step to the middle, which will be wide open. That's that guy coming, but like I said, he comes, and we got a dump off there too.
Yep.
So you would read that guy, you would drop step left or right, depending on what side of defense, but when I play against a team, if they play a zone, I'm looking at all like, what's his tendencies, okay? And of course, players going to react differently when they put in different situations, but everybody has tendencies. Every team has tendencies. Coaches say, hey, some coach may say, help this side. I don't know. But most coaches, especially in the 2-3 zone and a lot of post defenses, they want you to help on the baseline side. You get what I'm saying? So I would say, you would drop that and spin back to that middle, and that's an easy drop in right there.
Right. Yeah. And so to wrap that up, something that you mentioned a little bit earlier that I like is, let's get the ball in. If it's the two who can make the move, it's the three. If it's the five, like let's go. So some teams or some players feel like they got to go through all these different actions, but to me, and it sounds like review too. Let's get the ball in the basket. If it's the two, if it's the three, if it's the five, like let's figure out what the defense is giving us and let's get to work. So absolutely makes sense to me. Okay, yeah. Coach, see another there. See another on the list.
Right, yeah. And then, Coach, while I'm doing this and preparing for the next set, we work on a lot of that action right there. These two positions is really significant in our 5 out. So we work on, drive kick, drive replays. We work on that right there. We might get it here. I have a drill here where, I have a line here. Sorry, I'll just demonstrate this real quick. Just to give you an idea of how I get my kids to have their feet ready to shoot, because I do a lot of different things when they have to do it. And we might start it here, okay, boom. And this guy will drive here and say jump stop here and pass this guy. So this guy has to come, right? So you're gonna hit, and whichever side this guy, so you jump stop and you hit and you wait to read and react. So if this guy was to shot fake and drive middle, your feel will be that way. Feel, let's get our feet set, let's get a good pass and let's get a shot. I do a lot of different stuff like that. So my kids, my kids, hey, a lot of kids that can shoot. I have a lot of kids that can shoot. So we do a lot of shooting stuff for work and things like that. Yeah. So.
Well, that's super important as you're getting yours set up. Is that we can have these great quick hitters or these great little sets that we want to run, but if it's involving players to run an action that they're not normally running and they're not normally practicing, then it's probably not going to be that effective if you're trying to call that down one with 30 seconds to go if a player has to do an action that they haven't been doing the whole game. So absolutely agree. You want to make that part of what you normally do in your practice, and like you said, make that an action that they would normally do in that 5-out situation. That makes sense to me.
Right. Okay, so this one here, this set is against a man-to-man, and I call it 14 double. You'll see why. There's there's a couple of double screens here, but good action. Good action. And I usually, I got this from coach down here, Elder Marshall out of White River. He's a pretty successful coach, really good program. And he, depending on his personnel, he has some really good quick hitters. And I like looking at coaches that have, I like looking at games and I can see, okay, I see what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so we do a stack here, and in this, we do a tight stack here, and this 2-man comes out there, okay? So we can get that, and I'll place the 2 guy here, okay? We'll hit the 2 guy here, okay? So the one, probably take a dribble here, try to get that ball here. Okay. Now if that's happening, okay, a couple things are happening right now. This 4 guy here is stepping up. Okay. Because once this one guy, so let's say 2 got the ball here on the wing, on the left wing. All right. The 4 guys stepping up. I'm just gonna have it quicker in action, but I gotta slow it down and explain it. Okay, now what we got to do here, as this happening, as soon as that ball go here, this 5 man here is taking this loop about right here. Taking this loop about right here. All right, he's coming over. He's setting up right here. And so is this 2 guy, and you'll see why. It happens quick. Trust me. I know it might not look good me walking through it, but it happens quick. So what happens is this one, okay, the 4 steps up and get this guy. Actually, you need to step up. So you're going to take a step out, boom. Okay, so we're going to have that cut. We're going to have that cut off. Okay, immediately after the 1 clears this guy's shoulder here, okay, we want the 4 to immediately come into a side screen and roll. Now the 1 just is going. The 1 is going and coming off a double screen here, right? The 1 is going and coming off a double screen here. As that's happening, this 2 man, okay, is dragging this thing here too. So let's take this off. So we got the 1, okay, hopefully. And I'll send clips in, guys, because this is a really, really good set, especially if you got, you got a lot of stuff coming out of this. You got a screen, side pick roll, you got this guy here. Okay, so let's say the 1 made his route here. The 2 man is coming here, boom, boom. So you want to stop middle, unless you can punch that, obviously, right? We'll punch it. Because this side of the floor is kind of loaded up. 1 space in, if you got a quick punch, you got a quick punch. The punch to the basket is what my terminology I'm using. Okay, 2 comes off. As soon as the 2 clears, these screens immediately step up, boom. So this guy here, this guy's defender is going to really get it. This guy's defender going to really get it. So let's say the 3 is here now because they have to advance their screens. So the 3 is moved here on their screen, okay, and we'll put the 5 here to get all those lines out of there. The 5 there. So as soon as this 2 comes off, this guy is sprinting here. And this works 90% of the time if you get some good screens. And what happens is you're going to have a quick hit here. If we got this guy, this 2 comes off, good pace. This guy might have that 3 coming off here. But really what we want to look for is to get this guy about right here. Right here, boom. You get there and you sit. You want to sit on him right there. Sit there. You get what I'm saying? So we got a good, nice bounce pass right there. You got the guy on your back. You got good post position, and we got a score right there or a foul. And anyway, after that screen is let me go back. Okay, so we go here. So let's say this is the 4. Or you can continue this route here, depending on how good defensively playing. And let's go back for the spacing. We'll go to the spacing. So we got the 2 here that made that pass. After the 5 makes their screen, and this 3 makes a screen, then the 5 will set a screen here for the 3. The 3 will pop, and then the 5 just slip or be ready here on the weak side block. So then, let's go to how it eventually look. For spacing reasons, you have 3 here for a shot, and then you got 5 guy here. Right. And if anything, if it's slow and it's good coverage on the defense, boom, they got through all those screens or whatever, we ran so much action to get us a touch right here on the post. And if you want to help, we got our other big guy here. So, like I said, defensively, you have a guy here, and we get into our best post player. That's what we're doing. So I say most of the time it works. We getting a look. We getting something 9 times out of 10.
So you mentioned about 90% of the time that you're getting a good look, getting a look that you wanted. Where have you found has been like the biggest breakdown? What's the area on the defense that you're found that was the easiest for you to exploit when you run this, and where does the defense kind of mess up or miscommunicate or make their mistakes commonly?
On the bigs guy, so on this 4 guy, okay. Yeah, I'll go back to action. I'm sorry. We'll go back real quick.
Oh, you're fine.
On the 4 action, the one action and the 4 action is crucial. So this 1 action right here, after he makes this pass, let's say 5's here, and then we got 3 here. After the 4 makes that pass here, and if he goes away and set this up, you know what I mean? If he's open right here, that's how he's gonna be open if he goes there. Once he makes his tour right here, unless his defender tries to shoot it, which if you try to shoot it, the guy gonna popcorn anyway, right?
Yep.
So this guy right here, this tells a read how this guy defends this guy here. If he top locks him here, boom, and takes that screen and gets small, take that screen and still stay with this guy, then that's fine. He defended it well. But really, what really gets is this 4 guy right here, whoever defending this guy. This guy got to be able to move because you got to think, boom. Originally, when you first run it, this guy's not going to know what's going on. He's going to say, I got to hedge and help, right? Boom. So he's hedging and help there and trying to recover. As soon as this guy come off his shoulder, he's running here, boom, which means this help too is going to have to be up the floor, right? Because we got screen. So this guy has to help. And then by the time he got help and he's trying to turn around and get back to this guy, you got about 2 more screens you got to get through, buddy. You get what I'm saying? That's why I said, most of the time when I run it, we got something right here. This 4 guy came over right here, boom. That's all. Get it to us, good score. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
So the screens are critical, and whoever's defending this 4 right here, that can tell you all you would need to know on what's going to be open, if anything. Like I say, that's a lot of coverage. If somebody's getting, depending on what time, what I like to do, unless the team just, they don't make no adjustments, and they just not going to defend it well purposely, which rarely happens as long as you play in a solid, respectable team. That probably won't happen too many times, but if they're not going to make no adjustments, man, this guy's is going to continue, just like my elbow play. If I run that, boom, and I see how you cover it, 1 or 2 plays later, I probably run it again just to see, okay, is they going to cover it different then? And like I said, eventually they'll make one adjustment, but running a 5 out, running a 5 out, and you come to something like that, and you're like, oh man. So the first time it guaranteed works. First time. Unless guys turn it over, which hopefully we wouldn't do that because that's not in our philosophy and what we're preaching. So yeah, you get some good stuff. And then that 1 guy coming off too for that 3, that's been open too. So like I said, because it's depending on how his guy. If his guy defended him here, okay, you got to jump to the ball. So if it was me teaching defense, I'm sorry, I'll put an O for offense and X for defense. If it's me teaching defense, okay, once this pass is made, you should jump to the ball. But players don't. Sometimes players don't. They don't stay disciplined to it. So if you don't do that, then because this guy gonna take this point guard, he makes a step, he has to take a step this way. Then come on to try to sell it. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
To try to sell it to see if this guy gonna go here and go out because his side of the floor is kind of open. So you leave it, make a read. Which I leave my. When we want to run something, I expect them to run it how I tell them to run it to get it where we need to get it to. But like I say, how I coach, I coach with freedom. I feel that players have more fun that way. They're able to do more, they're more confident, and they're loose. I tell my guys to be mentally tight and physically loose. So that's my thing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And then a couple of things that you brought up too, especially for all the screen action. With me as a coach, I love when you're putting those screens and implementing those screens. And I mentioned this earlier. I want to see what the defense does. Are they communicating? Are they calling out screens? Because I don't want to give any free passes. And I think you're the same way too. I want to see how you react. I want to see if you adjust, and if you don't, you better believe you're going to see that play later. You're going to see that quick hitter later. Absolutely. No, that completely makes sense. So something that I want to mention this too, because I think some coaches, they have a little bit of issues with maybe running some of these quick hitters, running these sets. You mentioned a little bit about how so-and-so, depending on the action that you have, is going to be your best shooter, is going to be your best post player, things of that nature. But I feel that a lot of coaches, they get a little worried once, maybe there's some foul trouble or there's maybe some issues of subs and things like that. Are you still, no matter what the situations are, you still finding yourself running those quick hitters, even if maybe that best shooter isn't there, that best post player, because things aren't always going to be perfect towards the end of the game, Coach?
Right. Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, for me, you might say who has the tendency, to be, successful in that spot at high level. That's on the floor, what you have on the floor. But you can best believe that all my players can run it and get shots. And when you're talking about screens and slips and reads, like I say, that I teach all my kids that. So I don't really worry about it. Whoever's in the game, I'm gonna run it. If I see some in the defense and this is how they plan it, and this is what I want to get, and we're gonna do it, and we're gonna do it right. Whoever's in the game, and we're gonna be successful at it. And like that triple, I ran that with so many kids, man. Like this year, I had a 7th grader I brought up because we small school, class B. I had a 7th grader. I won a game with 7th grader. She didn't shoot well all game. I mean, she's a different mentality though, because that girl does not. She don't lack confidence, but she was the bottom guy. She was that bottom guy and won a game for us. And you open, you got to shoot the ball. She did it. She did it. So, yeah, that's how I do it.
No, I love that. Like, you're open, you shoot. If you're out there, like, you got to be ready to do something. The defense has to be able to be worried about you being there on the court, that you're going to do something, because if only 4 players are looking to score and the one is just kind of there, it's going to throw some things off. So we've talked a little bit, kind of sprinkled it in here as we went through these, about practicing and how you practice it, but I want to make sure that we're a little bit intentional by focusing in on practice itself. So what are some things that you do to make sure that your players just aren't like going through the motions in practice and aren't just kind of going through it robotically, but are going through it the way that you want them to, and also at the same point in that practice implementation are making those smart and accurate reads and smart decisions?
Like I said before, on the part of our expectations, generally the expectation of our players at all times are to be engaged and do things with a purpose. That's an expectation. So that's in everything that we do in the classroom. You get in the gym, I want you to be here, 5 minutes early. If you right on time, then we got to think. So guys are engaged. So that's number one. So you set the tone there right off the bat. Like I said, I'm a big believer in teaching kids to learn how to play the game rather than teaching them plays, and that goes into my way of really spending a lot of quality time on those universal offensive concepts, so skill work, breaking down those things, and then again, when I implement some, I want to break it down small groups. I'm gonna say, okay, and I don't believe in positions. If for my team, I never really had a traditional big. So all my guys, we got lengthy kids, athletic. They're going to be skilled. So we're going to teach you how to play. But we're going to break down all those reads. We're going to break down those reads. Excuse me, sir. We're going to break it down and, we're going to run it. And we might do no offense, then we'll do 2-on-2. So like, a 2-action offense, we'll do 2-on-2, and then we'll break it down 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5. Then we'll just bring them all together. And 9 times out of 10, it goes very great. And then too, what I like to do before practice, sorry, I missed a step. When I'm implementing some, I like to have film on it. I like to have film and show those guys, this is how it's ran, and this is the looks you get out of it. So it's fresh in their mind. So I'll do that. The boys have practice at this time at 6, and we have practice at 6. The boys have practice from 4 till 6. We have practice 6 to 8. I'm gonna bring my kids in at about they should be at study hall anyway, about 5:30, and we're gonna look at a couple different things, because a big thing for me, I don't like to implement things that don't know like the back of my hand. Like I can say, okay, if this happens, if I can't tell you that, my kids will never hear it. So I make sure I'm knowledgeable about it. And then, like I said, that goes with video. And a lot of these things I got off videos by, watching different coaches' games and clinics and webinars and things like that. So, yeah. But that's kind of how I do it. Like I said, I just spend some time to break it down and bring it all together and do it that way. I don't know if that answers your question. But.
Oh, no, absolutely. There's a few really good things there about it. You emphasize the point that's so important to me and so important to some of the other people I've talked to about teaching kids how to play versus just like teaching them plays, and the purpose and the why about why we do something, and also letting them kind of see how it works so that they know, like, here's what it looks like when it's done well, like here's what we're going to be able to do. And like you said about kind of knowing something, because if you create like an environment where kids can ask questions to you, it's really good if you know all the different what if scenarios. You're like, oh, if this just do this, like or things like that, so that you seem knowledgeable about that. And really quickly about practicing, because I know that some coaches kind of struggle with this when they're going through these quick hitters and they're really focusing in on the offense and what they want to see and the action being correct. At the same time, are you also paying attention to what your defense is doing, and then making sure that your defense is making the correct reads and correct decisions? How do you go about kind of wanting the quick hitter to be effective, but at the same time you're wanting your defense to also be making the correct action?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. The defense is held accountable as well. And like I say, I'm with the 5-out. That's something that I really believe in. I run, and so is the pack line, man-to-man defense, and how I defend the screens. Like I say, I didn't really have traditional bigs, so I could switch everything. So I switch things aggressively up the floor. That's how I don't want guys turn the corner. We switch aggressively, make contact, we talk it out. So if we're not doing that, guys gonna be held accountable. So both sides are held pretty accountable. So sometimes, like for a lot of coaches, sometimes it's not very pretty when it's like that, because guys got to compete. You got to compete, right? We talking about competing, and everybody got to hold themselves accountable. You got to make your teammate better. So if you're not going hard, you're gonna let this happen, and you think these guys gonna probably not, right? So we don't let that go. It's not part of our expectations. So. It's definitely required, and I'm on both sides evenly. And sometimes it don't look good. Then you get in the game and might run something. I might put some in, and then my belief is too, if something's not working, I don't want to spend too much time, because in a game, especially in a season, you got so much stuff to get ready for, man. Like I didn't put in things that maybe took a month before I felt comfortable to say I'm gonna call us in the game. But we do little by little every practice get some time in it, but. Things taking more. If I plan to do something for 10 minutes and it goes over that, probably not. Because we got things to work on, right?
Yeah,
this one set ain't going to make us win a game. We got a lot of other things to be prepared for, for a whole game, and we're going to do that. We're not going to spend too much time. So that's my thing.
Well, yeah, no, that makes sense too. Is like we get some of these like quick hitters or these things that sound great. We want to get them down pat, but if you're running them like once a game and you're spending like 25 minutes on your practice, there's probably a lot of other stuff that you're missing. And too, what I like too about the defensive part is I'm the same way. Like if I'm running something on offense, like my defense better be going hard, because it's not valid for me to try and run something and practice my offense with a defense going like half speed, because they're not playing against half speed defenses. So if you want to see if your offense is working, your defense has to be working just as hard. So absolutely. And again, just want to reemphasize, letting things go, man. If you're doing something for 10 minutes, it's like, come on, we got to move on if it's still not going. There's other things we need to do.
Yeah, because I have my creative ways too. Again, I make everything competitive. So we might play, we're going to play the 3. So you get a stop, you get 3 stops, off a defensive rebound, then you off, and then these guys might have to run or have some type of consequence. Same thing for offensively. So they, kids who like to compete by making your atmosphere, by making it competitive at all times, that brings the best in, that kind of puts it, that creates a norm of we compete every single time we're on the floor. And if you ever get a chance to watch my teams at any point, no matter what if we're doing well that season, winner, or if we're not, my team's scrapping, they're going to compete to the end of it. It don't matter. That's how we are.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, and I think a lot of coaches definitely should adhere to that philosophy and really competitive in practice, because then the transition to games isn't that big of a deal.
Exactly.
They're already going super hard in practice. I've had coaches tell me, like, the practice is the hard part. Like you're working harder, and games are easy. Like the practice is where you're really, really putting in all of that work and competing. So absolutely, it just makes that the games aren't that big of a deal in a sense when, like, in terms of having to get up to that certain level of competitiveness, because you're already bringing it every single day in practice. So absolutely, that makes sense. So a couple things here to wrap up, Coach. I want to spend a little bit of time for us to kind of dive into and kind of learn about a coaching moment of yours. At any point throughout your career, a coaching moment of yours that you think others watching or listening could learn from.
Okay, I thought really hard about that, and one of the coaching moments in my career that I would like to share is that as I mentioned before, working at Crazy Horse School, I was able, and a part of a kid, one of my kids that played with me for 4 years. This past year, actually, 2020, she graduated. She signed a letter of intent to NAIA school, your college in Nebraska, the first kid to ever sign a scholarship and things like that. She broke a lot of records too, set a lot of records, I should say. And I'm mentioning that, the first kid to get signed in this program and in my program under me was a huge step. But what I wanted to talk to about coaches, what I think would be helpful is that, my thing is a lot of, some coaches and things like that, they come and, we expect these kids to do these things and, do these things and we teach them to be better human beings. But sometimes kids want opportunities like that to go to college. They want something like that. And, all coaches we could do for the base of it is to try to prepare those guys and, give them the skills and the things they need to be able to do. However, as far as the recruiting process goes, so many people tell coaches and kids to say, hey, if you're good enough, they're gonna come find you, right? But that's not true every time, because you got smaller areas, you got rural areas, like our state of South Dakota and a reservation. It's a lot of good, and you know about the reservation basketball as you talked about Arizona, and I've seen some kids from Arizona. I met some kids from Arizona reservation that came to tribes. And one kid was an All-American, but he left after his first year. But he's one of the most talented Native American players I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I want to say is that, a lot of times it's not true. Like in our area in South Dakota, it's so big. You have Rapid City, which is one of the main cities. You have Sioux Falls and all these other cities, and the media outlets and the coverages are there for these guys. And so are the schools, right? On the reservation, guys don't get opportunities because we don't get that. You know what I mean? We're smaller. We play some city teams, but not a lot. So we don't get that coverage. So a lot of coaches and stuff don't know who our kids are. So as a coach, for me, what I did, I developed a strategy of my own. I'm like, I believe this kid can play. I seen how great she was as a person. Basketball is one thing. She's valedictorian. She's a great person. She's a hard worker. And, I'm like, this kid deserves opportunity at a 4-year school. And so what I did was I connected. I got on this thing called Field Level. It's for coaching. I don't know if you're on there. If you coach high school, you should get on there. Coaches post on there. College coaches from all levels post their needs, if they got scholarship money, their contact information, and things like that. I got on there. I got film on my kid. I sent it off, email coaches. I initiated the process myself. She told me she wanted to do it. Her family trusted me to do it. So I said, look, trust me, you're going to get so many schools in across the world. But, we tell kids, and we look at the statistics, it's 3% of kids that's actually going to get that opportunity, right, to go on to college basketball. So let's knock down the percentage off of that for kids in rural areas, right? You know what I mean? And then in smaller programs, that's not, so that chance is slimmer. So for me to, I just wanted to push it, and I'm like, I know this kid can play it, and she was able to get her opportunity. So that was huge for me as a coach, and that was huge for our community, because like I said, out of this community, the schools have been built since the 50s or something, and the first kid that ever goes somewhere, I mean, that's huge. So I just wanted to share that with guys. Kids want to go somewhere, get your kids out. Sometimes as coaches, we have to be that voice for them, and we have to be that resource and get them where they need to go, and try our hardest anyway. So I just wanted to share that anyway.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, because as a teacher, we're always advocating for our students, and we're always like advocating, and we want what's best for them, and we want to make sure that they're getting the opportunities that they need. And I feel like a lot of times, and I may be guilty of this myself, is that me and some of my peers, like, oh, we went to college, so like obviously everybody knows what the process is like, and everybody knows like how this all works. But that's not the case. There's a lot of times where kids, they want something, but it's not that they don't ask, it's they don't even know what to ask. They don't even know like where to start. And we as coaches, we are connected with what the process looks like you said, and the steps that need to be taken. And if we can be that bridge in your case to get that student from where they were to where they are, like that's exactly what you want. And another thing that you said that I think was really important is that family trusted you as well. And that goes into a theme that we've talked about in a couple episodes about building that connection to making sure that parents and the families are also working together with the coach and working with the player, and that everybody should all be in this together for the player's benefit, which exactly sounds like what happened in that situation.
Right.
Absolutely. So to wrap up, Coach, I want to give you what I call my 60-second soapbox here, where you can get out whatever that final thought is, that big idea, or just that lasting like little bit of knowledge or information that you want to kind of wrap up. So Coach, I'm going to give you the floor here for your final thought, your 60-second soapbox. Go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to say, for my final thought, that the coaching profession is so broad, is that it's not a wrong way or right way to coach. I know I was reading a book by Coach Porter Moser from Loyola Chicago. He was talking about competitive reinvention. And he mentioned this after he was let go of one of his earlier head coaching jobs in NCAA and how he had to go back to the drawing board, like competitive reinvent himself, basically get better. And, as coaches, I just want to encourage guys to always get better. Attend those coaching clinics, attend those webinars, read those books of different coaches. Do all those things. I know a thing that I've done this summer, I've done that. And I've liked to look at coaches that I like, whether they're NCAA or whatever, NBA, and I like to read their stories, the little jobs they had leading up to it. So if this guy like Brad Stevens started off as a video choreographer, and he said he spent 14 hours breaking down film. So if you look at him I think he's a genius offensively. You ever look at his stuff, man, I'm like, I get it now. You know what I mean? So I apply that to myself. Like, okay, maybe I need to dig more into film and things like that. So much respect and props to all the coaches, and let's keep getting better and leading the next generation.
Absolutely. Sounds perfect to me. If we expect our players to get better, we got to be getting better too. We got to be getting better at our craft. Absolutely. Coach Bagwell, I want to thank you so much for sharing some time, sharing some knowledge, giving us those quick hitters. It was tremendous. It was great. So thank you so much, and good luck this season, Coach. Hope things go well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I want to thank you guys for watching or listening to the Basketball Teacher Podcast. I'm Coach Mike Hernandez. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Make sure to connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time.